Hello, guys, and welcome to Make a Difference podcast. I'm your host, Manjot, and we are joined here today by the one and only David Suzuki.
Thank you for having me.
So, to the few people that are living under a rock, can you talk a little bit about your profession and the things you've done up to this point of your life?
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is David Suzuki, and most listeners probably know me from the science program The Nature of Things, which is broadcasted to more than 40 countries. I'm currently 84, and I grew up in Vancouver, which is located in Canada. I still live in Vancouver to this day. I love that city, and I currently spend most of my time with my family, friends, and looking over my nonprofit organization.
While on the subject of your nonprofit, can you talk about the goals of your nonprofit and also talk about your opinions on climate change?
Oh, where do I start? I guess I'll start from the beginning. In 1990, I decided to start an organization because there weren't that many orgs that tackled the environmental crisis at that time. So when we started, we tried to focus on problems such as fishery, forestry, and species at risk. And now moving on to climate change. Well, I believe it's a serious issue that many people aren't taking seriously. If the rate of carbon emissions and deforestation keep increasing, then I believe it might be the end for human species as we know it.
Yeah, I completely agree with your statement because it seems like more people are worried about celebrities such as Kim Kardashian than they are with the world and future generations, which you can't completely blame them for. As humans, we are amazing creatures, but that doesn't mean we are perfect in any way. I feel most of the public will only start being concerned about climate change and protecting nature when it's already too late.
Yeah, and speaking about that, did you know that researchers from NASA hypothesized that climate change might already be irreversible?
Wait, actually? Why is that?
I'm old, so I may leave a few details out here and there, but the general consensus is that global temperature is on track to rise by an average of 6 degrees Celsius, and that this can cause the north and south poles of the planet, such as the Arctic, to completely melt within just a few years. Yet other experts are concerned about Earth passing one or more tipping points, which is basically something like the Ice Age, where irreversible changes tip our climate into a new state.
That would be really scary.
Yeah.
Would that happen in our life or in later generations?
Um. Are you talking about the tipping points or?
Yeah, like the Ice Age tipping points.
Well, National Geographic actually talked about this a few years ago, and revealed some interesting information. The tipping points were once thought to be triggered only when the global temperature was above 5 degrees Celsius. But the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reported that tipping points can happen between 1 degree and 2 degrees Celsius. Every fractional rise in the temperature increases the risk of triggering one of 30 major tipping points. Now, to put this into perspective, even if all the countries act on their Paris Climate Agreement pledges to reduce emissions, global warming will still rise more than 5.4 degrees.
Damn, that's frightening.
Yeah, it makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, on the subject of climate change, I heard this theory going around that reducing your carbon footprint won't actually do anything because it's too late. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely not. I don't know where you heard this from. If people all around the world reduce their footprint, climate change would barely be a problem.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So, do you control your carbon footprint?
Yeah, I actually do. I'm very cautious of littering and harming nature in general.
What do you do to reduce your footprint?
Well, a few years ago when I first started, I used to do basic things such as turning off the light when I wasn't in the room, use less water when doing the chores or taking a shower, and stuff like that. But now I'm a lot more serious when it comes to reducing my footprint. Like just today, I actually biked all the way here to the studio just to be more environmental friendly.
Wow, that's really impressive. If more of us were like you, then we'd probably not be in such a crisis.
I'll take the compliment. Well, thank you for being on the podcast, Mr. Suzuki. I know you're a very busy man and that your time is very valuable. So I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and educating the listeners about climate change.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
I also want to thank the listeners for listening to our podcast and let us know who you want to be in our next podcast by tweeting at our Twitter account, Make a Different X.